let's move on. The man suspected in the deadly mass shooting at Club Q over the weekend is facing multiple murder and hate crime charges now. The shooting happened Saturday night inside the club, killing 5 and injuring dozens more.
I was on the dance floor dancing when I heard 4 to 5 shots.
The suspect entered Club Q and immediately began shooting at people inside.
I thought it was the music, so I kept dancing. Then I heard another set of shots.
Every citizen has the right to feel safe and secure in our city without fear of being harmed or treated poorly.
It was welcoming. It was open. This place was a home for a lot of people. The love, the laughs, the people that you meet, it's gone.
All right, here now with our debrief is Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae. All right, Julia, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. What are authorities saying about some of the injured victims?
Well, they are telling us how many the count is right now, because we know that there were 5 who were fatally shot and killed when this all happened. And they just updated those numbers within the last hour, 5 deceased and 17 who were injured by gunshot. And we know as of yesterday, 10 were in the hospital still receiving treatment, and that several of those were listed in critical condition, that they were in the ICU getting that treatment. They also listed that there are 2 who were injured but not from gunshots. So that's something that they said early on. They didn't know the extent of these injuries. They don't know who would have been injured by gunfire or who may have been injured or hurt while fleeing. You can only imagine the scene there inside of Club Q in Colorado Springs. We're also learning about some of these victims. One of those, Daniel Aston, who was someone who was a performer inside of this club. He called himself the master of silly business, and his family confirming that he was among those 5 lives lost. He was only 28 years old. We also have learned through our affiliate KOAA there in Colorado Springs that Derek Rump, a bartender who was at this club, was also killed in one of those victims. So we're learning those names, hearing from those who were there. Another performer, Maya Janae, spoke to one of our affiliates as well. Let's take a listen to some of that community reaction there in Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs isn't that big when it comes to being out there and standing up for the stuff that's right. So this time around, for it to be changed and a lot of people to be showing their support, standing up, saying what they need to feel, it is really just an honor.
Mom hugs always feel good. Doesn't matter how old we are, it doesn't matter. Mom hugs are mom hugs.
And you hear there just some of what's happening around that area. The memorial is growing. We're hearing that from all those reporters that are down there on the ground, watching everything that's unfolding. But a tragedy, no doubt, that is not only felt there, but being felt around the world today.
Yeah, and you know, there were heroes there as well. And so that's, if you want to say, a good thing with that. Now, let's talk about the defendant, the person that's been arrested here. Was there any prior contact with police? What do we know about him?
There was, and that is coming out, the scrutiny of what was known to police about this suspect. That is Anderson Aldrich, 22 years old. He's still being hospitalized. So police just recently, in that latest update, said that they can't give a photograph of him because he is still being treated, but in custody. But we know from a 2021 incident that it involved his mother, a bomb threat, and tactical gear worn by this defendant. We have this screenshot of video. Well, here you're seeing what happened at the end of that standoff with police, is how it's being described. This was June of 2021. There's the screenshot of how he looked when he was recording himself inside of this home where that threat was reportedly made. Take a listen to a little bit more. We couldn't use all of it because of all the profanity in it, but some of that video that he recorded of himself before finally exiting.
Go ahead and come on in, boys. Let's see it.
So that's just a portion of it, but here he is moving around that house, and you already saw what happens at the end of this incident. But Michael, I got to tell you, it was hard to find this background because it was not something that resulted in charges, even though it impacted neighbors who were concerned about if that threat was going to impact them. There's been questions about the red flag law in Colorado that involves a gun ownership and whether or not someone who's been charged with some kind of violent crime or even arrested in this case, that authorities can come in and remove what they own, their firearms. That didn't happen in this case. So he still was in possession of at least one firearm after this incident. And what we're hearing in the analysis from the Associated Press, who's been reporting on this at length, that they didn't remove it, authorities that is, because his mother or his relatives did not go the extra step in saying you need to come in and remove his firearms.
All right, now that's not always necessary, but that's the way they do it there because they consider themselves a sanctuary for Second Amendment rights. Now, we know he's been charged with hate crimes. Have we heard anything more about a possible motive, and how are prosecutors handling the case?
We haven't heard much about a motive. It seems at this point they know that he went into this club, a club that was known as being a safe haven, talking about safe haven for the LGBTQ plus community, and that he immediately opened fire. You mentioned those heroes, that there were actually victims or people who were impacted by this gunfire and what was going on, who confronted him, took the gun from him, used it to hit him, and then pinned him down until authorities got there. But here's a look at the hate crime statute there in Colorado. What they call it is a bias-motivated crime. It's a person who commits a bias-motivated crime is one if they have the intent to intimidate or harass another person in whole or in part because of that person's actual perceived race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, physical or mental disability, or sexual orientation, and that he or she knowingly causes bodily injury to another person. In terms of how that's going to come out, we know prosecutors must have some probable cause to add that to the charges that this defendant will ultimately face.
Yeah, and you know, we don't know everything they have, so they may have found something that suggests that's how he felt, or he went after them specifically, or just the nature of the crime itself may supply that for them as well. Julia Janae, thank you so much for that report. Appreciate it. As always, let me bring in my guests for this hour. Joining me is trial and family law attorney Lexi Rigdon. Lexi, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me to talk about this just awful, tragic event. I'll begin right there where I ended with Julia, talking about the hate crime charges in this case. The question being, of course, we don't know, again, everything that the police have, but if they don't have anything directly pointing to the fact that he had an issue with this community, I would think the facts of the crime itself are certainly arguable to apply these hate crime charges.
Right. I mean, there's a reason he targeted that club. There has to be some reason that he targeted that club at the hour that he did it. I mean, there's a lot of premeditation, as you know, that goes into these types of things, especially given his past behavior. He's obviously somebody who is not only violent, but probably mentally ill. And so this was a clear and distinct choice. So on its face, when I first heard it, I thought this had to have been a hate crime, much like the Pulse nightclub shooting.
Yeah, actually, it's getting comparisons to that, absolutely, without question. 49 dead there. Here, again, 7 dead, 17 injured, or 5 deceased, excuse me, 17 injured. I also want to talk about the possible dropping of the ball here by authorities there. Now, there's going to be an investigation into what happened with that 2021 charge. Just to remind our viewers, he had threatened to blow up the house, kept his mother inside the house. He was possibly facing charges of kidnapping and other charges related to it, but no charges were ever filed. The red flag law was not implemented in this case. Do you feel like perhaps, had they implemented the red flag law, this could have avoided this type of situation? There's no guarantee it wouldn't have happened, but certainly, do you feel like they dropped the ball here?
I do feel like they dropped the ball. I don't understand how we have a scenario where somebody is threatening the house he lives in with a bomb and impacting the entire neighborhood, impacting his mother, impacting a lot of other people, because apparently it was someone else that owned that house, and then he gets away scot-free without any charges being brought. And I don't know if that's because, you know, mommy didn't want to testify against her son. I read that she has not given any comments to the police about what's going on here. So maybe she's been all along trying to protect him. But this is a dangerous person in the state that I'm in New Jersey. I think that those weapons would have been seized yesterday. And we don't know when he bought these guns or how he acquired them, but the fact that he didn't face any type of charges and nothing happened as a result of this egregious and dangerous behavior. I mean, honestly, it's unfortunate, but it's not surprising that somebody who would do that only a year later wreaks havoc the way he did.
Absolutely, and I think that's the key point, that it's not a surprise that this would happen. I mean, you saw the video of him. He's dressed up as G.I. Joe. He seems like he's acting out something that's going on in his head. Clearly, there are going to be issues there. Do you suspect that that might be something the defense might use to their advantage in this case?
I think they're probably going to pull a Nicholas Cruz, which, you know, maybe he had a bad home life. Maybe he had mental health issues, because obviously it's self-evident that anybody who does these type of things has mental health issues. That doesn't mean that they deserve our sympathy. I certainly, as you know, have no sympathy for Nicholas Cruz. And I don't know anything about this case, but I already know I don't have any sympathy for this guy either. But they're definitely going to try it, because why wouldn't they? It works.
Yeah, and you know, again, like you said, insanity is not an easy defense. One of the most difficult things actually to pull off in criminal defense.
Yeah.
Question is, of course, did he understand or appreciate the nature of his actions? And again, just the nature of the actions themselves suggests he kind of knew what he was doing. But we'll see what happens when that becomes clear as far as the defense goes. The other thing I want to talk about is the heroes. I don't want to let that go. One of the things that we're learning is that a number of people who were inside the club, some people were scrambling, hiding, but some people went after this guy, and they stopped him, and they actually stopped more people from dying because they were able to neutralize him at some point and stop the killing in this case. And I just want you to speak on that, the fact that ordinary, regular citizens are really the key to these types of things, stepping up, putting their lives on the line to stop this kind of thing.
Absolutely. It's unbelievable that one or more people had the courage to confront someone who not only had an automatic rifle, but also had a handgun. He had 2 handguns. And it's a testament to their bravery that they did, as you said, put their lives on the line to stop somebody who was so heavily armed. And a lot of these cases turn on the destruction is lessened because somebody either with a gun or without a gun steps in to assist. So those people are being lauded as heroes, as they should be.
No question about it. We're going to continue to follow the developments in this case and report them as they become available.